Well, hello everybody. It's quite hard to do these videos. I was thinking of making a short, and I might still try to do it, but it's really virtually impossible because there's so much information. So I just want to say quickly something. Today is the 5th of July on 2026. And of course, the 4th of July is well known to you as the US Independence Day. And of course, this year is the 250 year anniversary. And congratulations to the Americans listening here. Sadly, it is also so that in my books and research and what I've learned at church, I'm a Seventh-day Adventist, I've learned quite a bit about you, and everything came together for me for my time in the shadows, where we simply couldn't understand the way you politicians are acting. We just couldn't understand them because they were basically supporting terrorism, causing terrorism, and instability across the world. It's amazing. You just can't get the two together until you understand from a biblical viewpoint what was happening. And then I was putting all these biblical truths into the books as well, into the stories, which makes the books, of course, very suppressed. I keep saying to you, if you like the George M. James books, uh, please try and get it if you can. Get it in paper because it can't be changed. Because Amazon is known. They've done this. Code name Belladon, where they simply changed the manuscript to make Obama look better. Yeah, they did that. Have they a right to do it? Like hell they do. Of course they don't. But you expect me to fight with Amazon? Seriously? I won't win. It's nothing you can do. We don't even get paid, to be honest. You would have 40, 50 book sales a month, and then suddenly they just change something there and it drops to 2. But even then they pay 3 months later. As an author, you don't get your money. And I'm not the only author saying this. Let me tell you, I've spoken to many authors who will tell you that. And then you query it and you run into red tape. Red tape, red tape. Can't get through to them. It leaves you only one option: is either you leave them, which I want, or you just accept the fact that you won't get paid. It's okay with me. I've got other income. It's all right. But I've tried to write these biblical truths into my books, and that's why it's so important that you actually read the books. It's not about the story in the background. There's always a good espionage story going on, but there's also something else which is extremely important, which is messages which you will not get from anywhere else. But I quickly want to say to you that the US has changed. It is really not the same country as it used to be even 50 years ago. It has changed considerably, and it has now become the second beast of the Bible. Now, those of you who's listened here before, and I know it might be very shocking for you who got no clue what I'm talking about. For you, I will recommend go and read Oath of Evil, the Warn Protestantism, because you're going to find out things which you didn't know, and you're going to find out that straight from the Bible, there's 3 entities we need to know about. You have Satan or Lucifer, and it gave its power to the first beast, which is a Roman Catholic system. System, I say, not the Catholic himself, even though there's many who's fully aware of that. It's a system of Baal worship. It's already sun worship. And then there's, of course, the second beast who will arise, and with that rose and became known to us as the US of A, mighty Protestant nation, and now it's completely subverted to become a second beast, and it will implement all the rules and regulations for the first beast. So it's going to break the church and state rule. You're already doing it. If you read my books, and I can show you many professors, clever people who actually talk about these things, warning you. But of course, no one's listened, which is fine. The prophet in your own country or own time is never listened to anyway. But I felt a duty to warn people and to say, well, guys, we have to get these things together, and I have to get the message out to you, and that's what the book's about. So in codename MASEMOLE 26, the story itself is interesting because it's about the South Africans assisting the Israeli intelligence to capture somebody from a moving ship as the ship is moving through the Mozambican Channel. Now, to get onto that ship, they have to use the willow bay method of getting onto that ship without nobody knowing actually knowing they're there until it's too late. Now, to understand what I just said to you, you need to read Codename Willow Bay. And there you will understand how they can actually interdict these mother ships or these prison ships or get onto a ship of special forces or agents without anybody knowing. And it's not the use of helicopters, it's not the use of divers swimming to the ship. It's impossible anyway, you can't do it while that ship is moving. And it's not using rubber ducks either. There is another method which we discovered and I actually tested and we explained that in Codename Willow Bay. So I don't want to go into that because in Codename MASEMOLE 26, there's other things which comes out which is of extreme importance, which is why I'm making this video. I did speak about the book before. As I said, I wanted to make this a short, but it's just not possible. There's too much information. And it's important to me that you get hold of this book if you can and see what we say here. Just to get back to the idea of the US of A, just yesterday Donald Trump with his secret Jesuit, where he said that America, military and America is a force for good. Well, they used to be. But right now, well, let's think about it. So you were created when? 1776 around? That's when you were recognized by the rest of the world, by France, a Catholic country actually, a superpower of the time. They were the ones who recognized you and placed you on the map. Very interesting because all of that comes together in this book. I know what I'm saying now is I grab you. It's very hard to summarize a 500-page book of facts into a few minutes. So you have to actually be interested in what I'm saying to you so that you can actually, go and read it and then explore it yourself and go and do whatever background checks or whatever you want, because you'll find out I've done it already. It's in the books. And if you hear a bit of noise, one of our small cats, we've got two small, relatively small kittens here, they're playing. And this one is called Lily, and she's the active one. So there might be a bit of noise, Lily. So anyway, there's Lily. Let her run around a bit here in the studio while I'm still sleeping. It seems that the US have been at war with somebody, even with its own, with the Indian tribes, 93% of the time when you were in existence. So you're in no way a peaceful country. No way there is. You also hold your military at some high level, which God knows I don't understand why. Read American Military Might Debunked, written in 2017 already, to warn you, you're going to lose the war. And I think you want to lose the war, actually, but that's another theory. It comes out in Hope of Evil. The reason for that is you need to go back to your roots, but your roots will not be based upon biblical principles. It will look to you like it's biblical, because the Bible says so. The Bible says so. It will speak like a lamb, but it will act like a dragon, in other words, act like Satan. So we know this, and we can see the signs very, very clearly. And why you hold your military so highly, I don't know. Because we really, in our eyes, from outside, we don't rate you at all. We think very little of your military, to be honest. And Iran proved it now. Iran proved it. It wiped out your Fifth Fleet headquarters. It wiped out about 95% of your bases. And try again. Try your luck again. Try your luck against somebody like something like China or something like Russia. See where you get. See where you get. But nevertheless, the arrogance is amazing. Since 1941, the US has not formally declared war on any country. But who have you bombed? Well, let's see. I've got a list here. China, Korea, China again, Guatemala, Indonesia, Cuba, Guatemala again, Belgian Congo, Dominican Republic, Peru, Laos, Vietnam, Cambodia, Lebanon, Grenada, Libya, El Salvador, Nicaragua, Iran. Yeah, in 87, 88, that was a war with the navies. We also shot down that Boeing or civil aircraft, and I think 200 people died. And we knew decorated the one who did it, a naval ship's captain. Yeah, he got a decoration. Outright murder, you know. Yeah, then there was Libya again, Panama, Iraq, Kuwait, Somalia, Bosnia, Iran again, Sudan, Afghanistan again, Yugoslavia, yeah, 76 days and you achieved nothing. Afghanistan again, Libya again, Syria, and Russia through proxies. And then Iran, where you actually saw your asses. Now, this is not in any way, shape, or form a peaceful country. So you have to ask yourself, how did you get here? How did you go from a genuinely good Protestant country, powerful country, to what you are now? Now, again, I know you people don't want to hear this, and there's a lot of people who's going to be upset about what I write. But you know what? I don't do these things because I hate you. In fact, I really don't hate you. For me, it's a matter of warning. And you can either take the warnings or you can reject the warnings, whatever. It's your choice. But I want to speak about it because it comes out in this book, MASEMOLE. I speak about the Black Pope, a fellow called Lorenzo Ricci or Ricci, Ricci, R-I-C-C-I. And he was a professor of theological type of professor, of course. Became a Black Pope. That means he's actually in charge, above a white Pope. And he's the most hated Black Pope there is by the Jesuits themselves. Now, the Jesuit order I write about a long time, about many books, simply because the Jesuit order is there to destroy Protestantism, and I'm a Protestant, the Seventh-day Adventist, a very serious Protestant. I actually keep the Sabbath day, the fourth commandment. There is no such thing as a Christian Sabbath on the Sunday. It's not in the Bible. You come and show me where in the Bible that stands, and I will show you where Jesus said, nothing will change here. I've not come to change the law. But there is an arrogant organization, a very arrogant one, who said they have a right to change laws and time. Stands in the Bible as well. And then they actually did it. Yeah, they did it. How did they do it? They changed the law of the Sabbath to Sunday. And then they come up with a shit story and to say to you, but that's the day that Jesus arose. And therefore, you know, we don't want to be like the Jews. They don't like the Jews. They hate the Jews. And then, you know, from now on, we're going to go to church on when? On a Sunday. What did God say in his fourth commandment? What did he say? He said, my Sabbath day. Remember my Sabbath day. He said, remember it. Why did he say that? Because he knew they would change it, and they did change it. From the Saturday, in other words, from Friday night till Saturday night. That's the Sabbath day, that's the fourth commandment. You cannot get past that. If you go to church on a Sunday, let me be frank to you, my friend, you're following Satan. That's what you're doing. Because the Antichrist is the Pope. Everybody sitting there in the Popery is the Antichrist. The office of it. Now, whether they know it or not, I don't know and I don't care. That's not my thing. But that's where they changed the law. Did they change time? Yes. They came in with from the Julian calendar, they came with a Gregorian calendar. Why is this important? Extremely important, because you people think of with US Independence Day is on the 4th of July, right? But you know, it's a funny thing, because there was a John Adams. He was also there. And John Adams later became president. At one stage, he was actually a Christian. He was not part of Freemasonry like all US presidents were. And Freemasonry is a Jesuit front, right? They exist as a military order of the Catholic Church to destroy Protestantism. Not me saying it. There are tons of quotes of saying this. Look in the books I wrote, that you will see exactly where I quote these people. It's not me coming up with it. I'm just giving you what the information came out, what research came out as I was doing these books. So what happened was they changed time. Did they really change time? The Bible says they think of changing time and they think of changing laws. Yes, they did on earth. But you think God cares? You think suddenly God says, oh, well, you know, my fourth commandment, I suppose, was wrong because this vicar of Christ, that calls himself a vicar of Christ, this 666 fellow, you know, this Antichrist, he said so, and therefore I, God, will listen to it. It's ridiculous, isn't it? It's totally ridiculous. I don't know where they come up with such crap. But they changed it here. It's not changed in heaven. Time is not changed in heaven either. So they tried to do it, and they did implement it on earth. It's important to remember this. And I've already said to you where they change laws. right? For the Sabbath day. That, by the way, is also the mark of a beast. Since this entity is known as the first beast, then they come out and say this is the mark of authority. If you follow it and you know what I just said to you, and you follow it by your right hand, by going, mark of a beast is on your forehead, my friends. Listen to me. That's what the Bible says. And I'm not a preacher in any sense or minister. My degrees are in law, and my expertise is, I suppose, in sabotage, things like that. But I know the truth because I was searching for it for many, many years, and I found it. And I understand what happens after death as well, which is important that you actually understand what happens after death. Why? Because you're going to see a whole bunch of spiritualism coming out now. You're going to see a whole bunch of suddenly a new Jesus arriving. Except that the Bible says when Jesus arrived, he will not touch the earth. He will stay in the air. He's not defiling himself by touching this place. You will go up if you go up. So you see what I mean? So if you see there's some guy walking in Australia calling himself Jesus Christ, really? Or you see some alien spaceship landing in the front lawn of the White House, and out gets the Messiah, or whatever they call the New Age Jesus. Just laugh it off. Jesus warned you. He said to you, he will say, I'm there, I'm there, I'm there. And don't believe it. That's what the Bible says, guys. And these things are not preached in churches. I realize that. The only church in the world who says these things every single time you get into church is for Seventh-day Adventists. 76 million members. Biggest Protestant church in the world. And yet people say, no, you're sick. I wrote about sex, by the way. The real sect here is actually the Jesuits. I've not discovered it, I discussed it in Oath of Evil. But let's get back to this. I already said to you, they tried to change the law, they changed the law. Now they try to change the time. So what they did is, they took the Julian calendar and went over to the Gregorian calendar, which we use today. The moment they did that, there's about 10 days which were missing. 10 days, some people say about 2 weeks, depending on who you speak to. Which means the following. This John Adams wrote to his wife, Abigail, and he said, well, a wonderful thing happened here. We decided we're going to go for broke. I'm just recounting now. The actual words are in the book. We're going for broke. We're going to do this. We're going to be independent, blah, blah, blah. And this was on the 2nd of July. And yet today is on the 4th of July. Why? What's going on? How is this possible? What? Oh, no, they say in history books, no, you know what? We had to inform everybody. So we had to do these things, and we had to tell everybody about it. And therefore, it's 2 days later. Okay. Right. Okay. So also, what is very fascinating is that didn't just happen. Something strange happened there. They were sitting together, I think in Philadelphia or somewhere, and they were discussing these matters, which of course is treason. And which of course in those days, when you get captured for treason, you don't just die. They torture you to death. I mean, the Brits are famous for that. Hung, drawn, and quartered. I mean, who else did that? Anyway, so they were like, we're not sure we should do this, it's treason, man. And then stood up the fellow, and they called him the professor. May I remind you that this Risi was a professor. And they say this guy made the best speech you've ever seen in your life. He stood up, man, he was patriotic. He was like, we've got to do this, we've got to go, we've got this. This is it, boys, this is it, we have to do it, and they did it. But that's where the letter of John Adams comes from. Manly Palmer, he writes about it. Manly Palmer is who? He's the guy who writes almost the Bible of the occult. He's a guy who really knows everything about it, or he knew. He wrote The Secret Teaching of All Ages. That is about the occult. That is about Satanism. That is about Satan worship. It's in his book where this is revealed. It's not revealed in your history school books. No, of course not. Of course not. But this professor made the deal. This professor, by the way, was also involved with the American flag, the design of a American flag. I think they called it a Betsy Ross flag or something. And he wanted to put certain stars there, which was like satanic type of symbols, wanted to do that. It was never really adopted, but he was there. And nobody knew who was this professor. I only knew he was there. He was a very educated man, obviously a man of letters, obviously a man who knew what he was doing, and obviously a man held in great respect. Everybody who got there was kneeling, they knew this guy was the man. Oh, okay, you're going to see how this all comes together just now. And the book explained this in great detail to you. Also in Hope of Evil. It is so important that I also put it in Hope of Evil. So what happened then was they declared their independence on the 4th of July. And immediately, of course, they started celebrating. How do you celebrate? Even to this day? Well, you shoot flares and things in the air and fireworks and blah, blah, blah. What does I think, the book of Deuteronomy, what does it say? How did the ancient people, how did they honor the pagan gods? Well, they made a fire. And then what did they do? They would heat this fire with stones and sticks, and then you see sparks fly. Does that sound familiar with this type of fireworks? Does that make sense? Yes. There it comes. Did God forbid that? Yes, he forbid that. Especially throwing your child across the fire. They did that to babies and throw it across. It's a way of symbolizing pagan worship. You can go into it in the books. So there was this professor. Now the funny thing is, Risi disappeared 2 years or a year before this happened. He disappeared because he was now in disgrace. Because the Jesuits by now was disbanded. Because they were kicked out everywhere. Everybody was fed up with it. And you should be, because they're the scum of the earth. Not me saying it. Go and read what your Civil War leaders said about it. Yes, from President Lincoln to the big generals, Sherman, all those people. Read the books and see what they said about the scum of the earth. And understand these people are still busy with it. And understand, please, that my research shows that every 3 minutes, a Christian somewhere is martyred. He's killed for his faith. I've been talking 21 minutes now. 7 people has been murdered from it you start listening to me till now for their faith. Don't think it's over. It's not over. There's nothing over. Right? That war is still going on. It's going to get a lot worse because we're in the end times. So this regime was being basically fired. He was locked up there in his castle. Nobody see him. Everybody's angry with him. And everybody feels sorry for him up to a point. And he's vilified. You ask any Jesuit, who's the worst black pope ever? Who's the worst general you ever had? Oh no, that would be Risi. Okay, well, tell me then. I want to know, why is he buried with full military honors with the other heroes of the Jesuit movement? You see, this is the type of thing in the intelligence world which we look at. We look at what is inconsistent. We look at, but that makes no sense. If he's so bad, why don't they just the Pope is great, man. Just put him somewhere. Yeah. So anyway, he disappeared. And suddenly there arose this professor there during the debates in the US. And this professor, this is my cat, is one of the 2 new babies we have. And so this professor is there. He's part of the Betsy Ross flag. He's the one who actually gets the US to be independent. And he's also the one who gets them to go into that amendment to say that religious freedom is guaranteed everywhere. Which of course gives the Catholic system now a foothold in the US. Remember now, if you're an American and you're listening to me and you came from Europe, and I know, been married to 2 of you. Well, I'm still married to one of your citizens. The other one pops to me. You can tell me you are 1/10 Cherokee or whatever, and you are 5/10 German, and you are 2/10 Norwegian, or whatever, and you know your history with these things. It's amazing. You're the only country in the world who knows that. But if I ask you and show me on a map, you can't. You've got no clue. Is that your fault? No, by the way, it's not. Is it your fault that you're addicted to pills? No, it's not your fault. What happened? Well, if you go to my main show, you will see I speak to a Sangoma, which is a traditional doctor in South Africa. And what we say there is, you know what, in 1909, 1910, the Rockefeller Foundation, and the Carnegie Foundation, yes, they got out and they started investigating US medical universities, yes, and they basically destroyed every single natural type of medicine school which existed. Yeah, and what happened then? Oh, we used their oil to make chemicals which we call pills. We used to say in God we trust, then it became in pills we trust. And then during this dreadful illness who killed almost no one, in Fauci we trust. Also a Jesuit. That you see the pattern. Guys, if you find this fascinating, read the books because I get all the points together. As far as we can humanly see it these days, it's there. The answers are there. But then you'll be able to spot and see what happens. But the fact is, this Ricci was not seen in Italy and Rome anymore. He was not seen at all. And then he dies and he gets a heroic funeral. There's a fellow never identified who started this independence thing of the US. I'm telling you, he created the second beast. He created the US. That is why he's got a funeral in a heroic acre or wherever they buried. You can go there yourself, by the way. Also, the fact that he's not seen in public doesn't say he's not communicating, because there's tunnels between the Vatican and where he is. It's not a problem. You can walk those tunnels too if you can get access. So that was one of the greatest feats of intelligence which the Jesuits ever did, by creating the US. Now let me get to the date. I've told you that Adam says it's the 2nd of July. Then they said, no, we need to inform people, so it's the 4th of July. Okay, right. So tell me, my friends, what happens? What happens if we work out the 4th of July, not on the Gregorian calendar, which we use today, but the Julian one, which was changed? Time was changed. What day do you get to? Tell me. Well, if you work it out for 2 weeks, which is now missing, and you go from the 4th of July, you're going to end up very close, or close to actually on the 20th of June, and about there. Dates are extremely important to the occult. Let me tell you. They love dates. They love it. They play these games, They really believe if you do something on this date, then that is going to happen because it's numerology. It has nothing to do with Christianity. Nothing. It is rubbish, but they do it. That's how we caught them. And so what they did is, they moved that date. The 4th of July is actually Solstice Day, on the 20th of June, around about there. Why is that important? Well, Solstice Day, Summer's Day, some people call it. This is in the northern hemisphere, it's different in the southern hemisphere where I'm from. Is the day of the sun, the venerable sun. So it has to do with the sun god. It's by worship. They created this country on the day of the sun. Why did they create the country? Well, the Bible tells you. Go and read the books or read the Bible, read Daniel, and also read Revelation. And you will find out the second beast will arise. And the second beast will take power. It gets its power from the first beast, who gets its power from Lucifer, Satan, and it will implement its system, and the whole world will wander after the beast. Yeah. So you're going to see, in the near future, you're going to see the US becoming very religious, as they are right now. But it's a strange religion because it bows down to Catholic doctrines. They want a Sabbath day. But when is that Sabbath day? Is it when on the 4th commandment of God, on a Friday night to Saturday night? No. It's the Catholic Sunday, the day of the Lord. And there you see how we implement it. Isn't that fascinating? Very, very fascinating times that's going on. So I'm sad to say to you that the US is the second beast of the Bible. That's how it was created. I wrote a book entirely around bringing that part out to you in the public. So if you can get hold of codename MASEMOLE 26, you're not only going to learn about the Willoway method and the capture of this terrorist from a boat in the channel, you're also going to learn about Rixi, the Black Pope, probably the greatest strategic general that ever lived, and which no one knows about. Fascinating, isn't it? Okay, guys, God bless. See you later. Let me go and play with the cats.